Very good. I can read Spanish very good, actually. But I don't have a... Nila Madhava? Ja. Hast du dein Handy dabei? Ja. Kann ich etwas gucken? Hast du Internet? Ja. Database. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Danke dir. Let's see what they have. Bhagavad Gita, La Ciencia de la Autorealización. Yeah. I want to see if they have a... Amazing, there is so much more than in German. Un capítulo, this is 12, huh? 12. La gloriosa muerte de Vritasura. Este capítulo relata la muerte de la Vritasura a manos de Indra, el rey del cielo. Wow. Aunque él hubiera preferido no haber tenido que hacerlo. Ah? Das hört sich professionell. Spanisch. Ich habe Spanisch gelernt, aber so viele Jahre. Text 16. Oh enemigo mío, no tienes más que mirarme con mi alma y a mi abrazo despedazados, ya has sido vencido. Yo has acabado conmigo, pero yo, con el deseo de matarte, hago todo lo que puedo por seguir luchando, pero no estoy triste en absoluto, ni siquiera en estas condiciones tan adversas. Tú, por lo tanto, debes abandonar esa amargura y continuar luchando. Hare Krishna. Es en español. So, welche Sprache? Was auf Englisch? Do you understand English? Okay. So we have to wait that opportunity which Krishna reveals, how that revelation is possible. Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhaved Grayam Indriyai. By sense perception or sense speculation, you cannot. Namadi, even the chanting Hare Krishna mantra, you cannot understand. Nama Rupa Lila Parikara Vaishishtya, everything. You cannot understand with his blunt senses. Then how? Seva Mukyahi Jivada Svayam Eva Spuratyada. When you engage your senses, purified senses. Purified senses means when the senses engage in the service of the Lord, everything, then you can understand Krishna. He concluded the class by explaining that because the Pandavas were pure devotees, Krishna took their side and they therefore became victorious. After the class, as Srila Prabhupada sat for a few minutes in his room waiting for breakfast, I asked him about Duryodhana's relationship with Balaram. I was puzzled how an apparent demon like Duryodhana could be favored by the Supreme Lord Baladev, and even thought how to fight with the club by him. Was Duryodhana actually a devotee playing the part of a demon, I asked. Yes, Prabhupada told me, otherwise Balaram could have not been favorable to him. There was discussion on Nitai's departure again today. Prabhupada expressed strong displeasure about his propaganda that unless you chant 64 rounds a daily, you cannot go back to Godhead in this life. We don't mind if you chant 64 rounds. That is good if you can do it. I never said only 16. 16 is the minimum. You must do that. But the difficulty is that some of them, our devotees, cannot even chant 16. So how will they chant 64? If you can do 64, then do it. But why do we have to go to New York to chant 64? Why you leave Vrindavan? Vrindavan is the best place to chant 64 rounds. But you are going to Jaipur to say goodbye to Govindaji. You rascal, get out. You cannot stay here. That is Govindaji. Just to save this rascal from going to hell by his bad association, Krishna is forcing him to leave. You cannot stay here. Get out. It is Krishna's mercy he is made to leave and give back the 4,000 rupees. 1 minute later, and he would have been missed on the railway station, and he would have kept the money. It was Krishna's arrangement. So, there was this devotee who was telling to everybody, unless you chant 64 rounds a day, you cannot go back to Godhead. So I've heard in my whatever years, so many devotees, not so many, but some devotees said similar statements. Unless you chant 64 rounds, you cannot go back to Godhead. Unless you know original Svarupa in the spiritual world, you cannot go back to Godhead. Unless you take initiation from the Parivara, proper Parivara. Parivara is like a parampara. You know, if it has to be a succession of Diksha Gurus, not only Shiksha Gurus, but Diksha Gurus. Meaning our Sampradaya is not proper, you know. Jumping over. Jagannath Babaji initiated so-called Bhakti Thakur, but he was not his guru and so on and so forth. It has to be as they call it, seminal guru. Guru Diksha line. You cannot go back to Godhead. Unless you are born, you know, in India in the line of Brahmanas, you cannot go. So many, you cannot go back to Godhead. But this is all actually rubbish here. Prabhupada says very clearly, it's so nice for you if you like to chant 64 rounds, it's very nice, but you cannot preach to the others that they must do it, because you cannot set the standards. It is Acharya who sets the standards. As Prabhupada also said, unless some people also say, unless you, this is another one. So this was either arguments many times with devotees in Vrindavan, particularly Vrindavan, because they are into Radha and Krishna and Prema, and unless you Prema Bhakta, you cannot go back to God. If you just listen normal Srimad Bhagavatam and do normal service, this is sadhana bhakti. As a sadhana bhakti, you cannot go to Goloka Vrindavan. You can go to Vaikuntha, but not to Goloka Vrindavan. This is another total rubbish. This is not Prabhupada's standards. Prabhupada's standards is serve Krishna faithfully, and by the mercy of the Guru, by serving Guru, by pleasing of the Guru. That's why we're singing Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada. By pleasing Guru, you will go to Goloka Vrindavan, not because you are reading about Radha and Krishna. This devotee in Gaudiya Math, famous, he is many years not anymore living. His name was Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. He said, he advises his sannyas disciples not to read about Radha Krishna Lila prematurely, because if you read about Radha Krishna Lila too much, you'll become a material girl next life, because you meditate on the gopis and you're not on the standards to be there. You become a girl next life. So it's safer, and this is the mood of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. There's also one article written by Sridhar Swami, a very scholarly devotee, disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Prabhupada's god brother, but Prabhupada had a great regards for, respect, and he wrote this fools are rushing where angels are fearing to tread. In translation, fools are rushing to some topic, Radha and Krishna topic, but the angels, actually, those who are actually very advanced, they're very careful where they're stepping, fearing to tread. They don't just go, let's read Radha and Krishna. So this has been broken so many times, and again, I've seen so many times. And this is such a trap for devotees, because after some time they get some taste, and they think, yes, now I am, and others are fools. Actually, just the opposite, They think they are the others who are actually faithfully serving Prabhupada and faithfully serving Krishna. They are fools, and they are lower because they do not understand the actual rasa, but I am somehow know the secret. Everybody wants to be the member of the secret group, of the elite. You have this elite parties, There was this, I forgot the name, there was many, many years ago, there was a film about the secret parties of the elite people. They have these all weird parties, and so weird parties. Because the super rich people, they want to have an exclusive club. So we all want to be part of the exclusive Krishna consciousness club. Only I know about Radha Krishna, not you. Although Lord Chaitanya said Krishna Prema Pradayate, that he actually came to distribute love Prema to everybody, which is kind of funny. Everybody. But some people have these tendencies. They are thinking that they are the ones. But Prabhupada here was very clear. He was not against it. He said, if it is your desire to chant 64 rounds, it's very nice. But at the same time, why don't you stay in Vrindavan? Why do you need to go to New York to chant 64 rounds? This is also a question. He was living in Vrindavan, but he's going to New York to chant 64 rounds. in the mode of goodness city, I've been cynical. New York is not in mode of goodness. You want to go to New York to chant 64 rounds. Anyways, this is what I thought about this. Next we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. So now we have a task. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.12.16. Pashyamam nirjitam shatru vrikanyuda bhujam amride gatamanam yata shakti tava prana jihirshaya Pashyamam nirjitam shatru vriknayuda bhujamamride gatamanam yata shakti tava prana jihirshaya. Palabra por palabra. So now we'll do the two. Pashya, look, or the mira. Hablas español? Hablas italiano? Hablas Spanish? You know? So, Mam et me, Nirjitam, already defeated. Shatra, O enemy, Vrikna, cut off. Ayuda, my weapon. Bujam, and my arm. Mridhe, in this fight. Gatamanam, still trying. Yata Shakti, according to my ability. Tava, of you. Prana, the life. Jihirshaya, with the desire to take away. O my enemy, just look at me. I have already been defeated, for my weapon and arm have been cut to pieces. You have already overwhelmed me, but nonetheless, with the desire to kill you, I am trying my best to fight. I am not at all morose, even under such adverse conditions. Therefore, you should give up your moroseness and continue fighting. Vritrasura was so great and powerful that in effect he was acting as the spiritual master of Indra. Although Vritrasura was on the verge of defeat, he was not at all affected. He knew that he was going to be defeated by Indra, and he voluntarily accepted that. But since he was supposed to be Indra's enemy, he tried his best to kill Indra. Thus he performed his duty. One should perform his duty under all circumstances, even though one may know what the result will be. So, Pashyamam nirjitam shatru vrikna yuda bujam mride gatamanam yata shakti tava prana jikirshaya. Oh my enemy, just look at me. I have already been defeated, for my weapon and arm had been cut to pieces. You have already overwhelmed me, but nonetheless, with the desire to kill you, I am trying my best to fight. I am not at all morose, even under such adverse conditions. Therefore, you should give up your moroseness and continue fighting. So Prabhupada says here, in the very beginning of the purport, that the Vritrasura was so great that he actually acted as the spiritual master of Indra. Although he was in such a depraved condition. He was, as they said, I'm already defeated, for my weapon had been cut, and my arm. So imagine you have an enemy without arm and without weapon, and you are still afraid of the enemy. This was Indra. So Vritra said, you already cut my arm, what else do you want? But still, I'm doing my duty, and you should do your duty. So duty on the battlefield is to fight. Duty on the battlefield is to kill the other enemy. This is a duty. As Arjuna and the other Pandavas have duty to kill Kauravas. This was their duty. Everybody has to perform their duty. And then Pandava, and Pandavas and like Arjuna and Yudhishthira, their duty was not to arrest the soldiers on the Kurukshetra. Their duty was to kill them. This was a duty of a Kshatriya. So as the same way, we have a duty of Vaishyas, we have a duty of Shudras, we have a duty of Brahmanas. And they all should do their own duty up to the last moment. And we have devotees who are dying in our movement, who did their duties to the last moment. They chanted their rounds to the last moment. Kadambakana Maharaj was chanting his rounds to the last moment. Even, I think the day he left the body, he also, at least he held the beads in his hand. To the last moment, you do a duty. Our duty is to chant around. Our duty is to, be a devotees. So we try to perform our duty to the last moment. And Prabhupada says here, the purport. Although Vritasura was on the verge of defeat, he was not at all affected. He knew that he was going to be defeated by Indra, and he voluntarily accepted that. But since he was supposed to be the Indra's enemy, he tried best to kill Indra. Thus he performed his duty. So although the devotees, the circumstances in our lives are such that we know in advance that we are not going to, make it well, we still have to perform our duty. Although we know, because devotees know that the results actually depend on Krishna. And the devotees are just instruments. Nimitta Bhava, what is the name? Sabya Sachi. Anybody knows the verse? That Krishna said to Arjuna, it is your duty to fight, and regardless of the victory or defeat. You just have to fight. And in this way you become an instrument in my hands. Once Sanatana Goswami, our great Acharya, Rupa Sanatana, came to Jagannath Puri, and on the way he was drinking some water from the river, because at that time there was no bisleri to buy, water, flaschiertes Wasser in the bottle. So he actually drank some water, and the water was contaminated with some bacteria, and he got his whole body erupted in some kind of pus and some kind of things, a rash. So he looked horrible, and he thought, what is the use of my body? My body is totally useless. I will go to Jagannath Puri, and when Jagannath comes in a big cart, I will jump under the cart, and therefore I will kill myself. The cart will cut me in half. And I don't know, I guess this was at that time considered okay to kill yourself like this. I don't know. So he was thinking about this, but he didn't tell anybody. When he arrived, he was just thinking about this. I will just kill myself, and because I'm useless, I cannot do anything. And then next day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to him and he said, Sanatan, you cannot kill yourself. He said, you don't have right to kill yourself because your body does not belong to me. And Haridas Thakur was then, he said, Haridas, tell him that his body belonging to me. And why? How does your body belong to me? Because I have so many things I need to do in Vrindavan, and I need your body to execute my will. So this is an attitude of a devotee. The devotee has a duty to perform, in no matter how small or big way, to actually execute the will of the Lord through this devotee. We meet somebody, we give a plate of prasadam, we give somebody a book. This is all useful, using our body in Lord Chaitanya's service. So Lord Chaitanya is still using the bodies of people to execute his will through this world. And therefore, devotees should always consider that this is my duty, that I'm doing this. In regardless of success or failure, Prabhupada says that, does he perform his duty? One should perform his duty under all circumstances, even though one may know what the results will be. So this is another very fine nuance, means fine points, that Srila Prabhupada says here, regardless what the results will be. Because sometimes we may think one result will come out, but we don't even know, maybe something amazing will come out. So therefore we should do our duty, because this is a safe way. Safe way. Safe way means we are under the protection of Krishna, and we are executing Krishna's will. And then what Krishna wants, he may actually use even us to execute something amazing. We don't know. We are not sure. There's so many also his instances in history that devotees thought in the beginning, I cannot do, what can I do? I cannot do anything. But then at the end, it came out that they are doing amazing service. So like, for example, this Ambarish Prabhu, Prabhupada disciple. If you read in the beginning, he was, he obviously he came from the Ford family, very rich family. And he could support Prabhupada, but he was in the beginning, not really. He just opened a restaurant, I think, in the 80s, and that was it about. But then when the TOVP, Temple of Vedic Planetarium, was built in Mayapur, he actually invested a couple of $1 million to build the temple, and he was collecting, and he was very instrumental, actually the most instrumental as far as the Lakshmi, to build this temple. So many years he was probably not so active in this sense, and then suddenly he became active in the most important thing, to build a temple in Mayapur. So for this, we do not know how King Krishna uses in his service. Even if we think, and also another thing is, we do not know what devotees have in their minds, how devotees think, what do devotees think. When Srila Prabhupada was in India, after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left, in Gaudiya Math, the other devotees, Gaudiya Math devotees, could not understand Prabhupada's mind. They could not understand Prabhupada's desire to preach all over the world. And they treated him like he is another grihasta. And Prabhupada played along with it, and he tried to preach to execute his duty in English, because he got instruction from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati to preach this message in English. This was the first instruction, and the only instruction. Preach this in English. He didn't tell him go to America or go to England, or he just told him preach this in English. So Prabhupada took it very seriously, and he wrote his books in English, and he spoke in English. Even when there was a Hindi audience, Prabhupada spoke in English, because he was instructed by his Guru Maharaj. And then when the time came, he went to America, and he preached all over the world. Even he spent in America some time, but then he came to Europe, and then went to Africa, South America. He was in Mexico, Prabhupada was in Mexico. I think of South America, Prabhupada went to Mexico and Venezuela. I don't think he went anywhere else. Did he go to Argentina? No. I think only Mexico and Venezuela. I was lucky to actually see the house where Prabhupada was in Venezuela. It's a very beautiful, on top of the hill. And I don't know how it's in Mexico. Do you have any numbers of the house in Mexico?
Temple?
No, the numbers. You have a street number, and then number. Like in Venezuela, they don't have numbers. They have. No, it's different. The different. Like in Venezuela, they don't have, like, for example, here Taunusstraße 40, Taunus Street 40. They don't have in Venezuela 40. They call the name of the building is the name. Also the name. So in Venezuela, the temple where Prabhupada was there was the Las Aranas. You know Las Aranas? Las Aranas is the frogs. So this the name of the Finca Las Ranas. So this was the place called the building of the frogs. And this was the Prabhupada was there first. Prabhupada came, and you can listen to the lectures that Prabhupada is preaching. We can see the videos of Prabhupada is walking in the park, talking to different devotees. And then he went to Africa also. He went to, I don't know where he did, Kenya, I think, Kenya. Then Prabhupada went to Australia, different places. And although in some places, Sweden, although they don't speak English in Sweden officially, but Prabhupada just spoke in English, because English actually, this was the, again, genius of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who said that told him to preach in English, because English is a world language, is actually the language of everybody. It's the world language. Now, especially with the computers, everybody speaks English, everybody understands English. The young people, everybody speaks English, any country. So the duty is very important, and this is the duty given to all of us. We inherited the duty as devotees of the Hare Krishna movement. We inherit the duty of preaching Krishna consciousness, whether we like it or not. And somehow or other, we all try to somehow preach, somehow, go in Harinam, distribute some prasadam. That's why we have festivals. That's why we have Rath Yatras, because this is what we have inherited the instruction of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Prabhupada to preach, and we should do this in our own capacity as much as we can, and regardless of success or failure. So this is the one point. Second point, the very beginning of the purport is the Prabhupada says that Vritrasura here, although Vritrasura was on the verge of defeat, he was not at all affected. And he was so powerful that if he was acting as the spiritual master of Indra. So spiritual master, everybody can become spiritual master if somebody is advanced, of course. And advanced means conviction. If you're convinced about Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi Shudra Kenanaya, Yei Krishna Tattvaveti, Sei Guru Haya. That you can be a spiritual master, or you can be a Shudra, you can be Vaishya, you can be Vipra, Sannyasi, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, you can be a Brahmana or a scholar, Shudra, and even Shudra can be spiritual master. In Nectar of Instructions, Prabhupada explains that three types of spiritual master. One is a Kanishtadikari spiritual master. Another one is, next level is the Madhyamadikari. And the third one is the Uttamadikari. It does not necessarily mean, again, as I was telling that I was arguing with some devotees who says the only Uttamadikari is the real spiritual master. Only Uttamadikari can bring you back to God. But this is not true. Prabhupada explains that all three actually qualified to bring a disciple back to God. Even if someone is on the lowest level, he can direct a disciple to the next stage. And Prabhupada says in the purport to this verse that one should be very careful accepting Kanishtadikari, the Guru, because if you worship a Guru, you cannot be advancing more than your Guru is advanced. So you can advance up to a certain point. So therefore, it is the duty of a Guru to see the disciple is advanced enough to direct him to another Guru. Because again, our line is a Shiksha line, not a Diksha line. Madhva Ramanujacharya had so many gurus, I don't know how many, 12, 13 different gurus. And they all sent him to, his guru said, if you want to learn Bhagavad Gita, you should go to such and such guru. So he instructed him to go to certain guru, and he spent there for a long time learning Bhagavad Gita. So it is not that we have one guru and then we are, as we say, stuck to one guru. Yes? That means that we have actually unlimited Shiksha Guru, as Prabhupada says also, but we can have only one Diksha Guru, one initiating Guru and unlimited Shiksha Gurus. So when spiritual master sees that the disciple came to his level, he should send him, he should not be envious and send him to the next level, and so on and so forth. Of course, this also has to be, done in a very respectful manner. In the book called Krishna Bhajanamrita by Narahari Sarakar, there's description when the disciple, even disciple, when he sees that she sees that I am advanced, I want to learn more, he actually is allowed to ask his guru, I would like to learn from this other guru, is this okay? And the guru should say okay. But disciple does not have right to go to guru without the permission. And this is again happened quite a few times. Our devotees, they start reading Krishna Lila in Vrindavan, and they go take initiation from the Babajis in Vrindavan, or without the permission of the guru. This is not authorized, and this is a very great offense. So this is not recommended at all. So that's all I wanted to say about this verse. Would you care to I have a question. Has to be one question, otherwise, yeah, there.
We heard also that it is possible to give up this duty when you become devotee.
Sorry?
You give up your duty, you can give up your duties in the material life when you become a devotee. This is possible. Or? Like you are a housewife and have your duties, family and so on, and soon you become devotees and you become devotee and maybe they not the family, and then you are allowed to focus more.
Yeah, this is different cases. This is different cases. In some, yes, these are different cases. Depends. I mean, if you say, okay, I'm leaving my kids, and that's a little bit too extreme. But Prabhupada, for example, was telling the devotees to leave the university, to don't study anymore. So devotees left, and 10 years later they went back to back to universities. So it is, yes, it is possible if you go and don't turn back. Fully surrender to Krishna. If you actually fully surrender to Krishna, then you don't need anything. You don't need, you can give up all the duties, all of them. But if you are halfway into Krishna consciousness or 1/3, then you should keep something in how you say, discussion with the spiritual master. And the spiritual master can say, okay, this is a good, you can keep this and don't keep this and things like this. But for example, if you say, I want to divorce because my husband is not a devotee and I will fully surrender to Krishna, then you go to Krishna consciousness, then suddenly you decided to marry again. Which again, we don't profess this, but sometimes devotees do this. They divorce and they take, I know one devotee, several devotees who are taking vanaprastha. They left their wives, men, they left their wives, never again, devotee wives, because vanaprastha, they take this very suffering, and after 3 years, they marry some Bhakti so and so. This is not good. So this is not good. But yes, ultimately, yes, we can give up material duties to be engaged in spiritual duties. But even Lord Chaitanya gave up his duty of teaching. He was a teacher of logic, and he gave this up for the sake of Krishna. So yes, technically it should be, but practically we should work in coordination with spiritual master to actually tell us, this part you can keep, this part you don't keep. This is the very interesting topic with the duties and devotees, because devotees in many cases, they think we are transcendental and we don't need to care about anything. We don't need to care, we can steal, cheat, because it's for Krishna. But in the past, of course, nowadays different. But this is not so. We have some duty, we have even civil duty towards the society. We cannot also be, this is also bad preaching if we act like this. At the same time, we should not be too much attached to the society. Ultimately, they are karmis. We have our own rules and our own. So it's a fine line that we should always consult with the spiritual master or seniors to us to see what should we do properly if we don't know ourselves. How many times Prabhupada just didn't care whatsoever if somebody told him something? There's a rule of this country that he doesn't care. We are Krishna devotees, we don't care about your rules. But on the other hand, we have, for the sake of preaching, we have to follow certain rules. Something like this.
And if you have terminal disease and you still cling, even as a devotee, to certain duties like I'm a pujari, I'm this and that, I must keep on, and I'm a teacher, and so on. But this also you have to give up.
Yes, this is also upadhi. This is what we do. I'm pujari, I'm whatever, Sankirtan devotee. This also all has to be given up. We are not pujaris. We are not Sankirtan devotees. This is what is pujari. You know. Or you can think, oh, I'm a pujari in the spiritual world. You don't know what are you in spiritual world, unless you know. But these are all upadis. Because we don't see Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his song or Narottam Das Thakur. They suddenly said, oh, I am the writer, or Prabhupada, I am the preacher in Krishna consciousness. Also preacher, this is also an upadi. Everything is an upadi. You know, body is also an upadi. You should not think that I am the man or I am the woman. When we die, when we are on the bed, dying, it's all given up, all of this. When we have, as you said, terminal illness, if we are, of course, if we can still do some service, this is nice, but if we cannot, we should not think I am pujari or I'm this. This is over. The party is over. Because when we die, that's it. Of course, maybe you can be assistant of the gopis who do puja to Prabhupada, but this is a different story. But our duties here as a pujari or our duty as a Sankirtan devotee should be given up. This is done. These things are there only, all these things, this is called Varnashram Dharma ultimately. What we are doing here, I'm a Brahmana, I'm a Brahmachari or Vanaprastha or Sannyas. There's no sannyas in the spiritual world. There's no such a thing as sannyas. So this is all here, only here in this world to help us so the society is not in chaos. Imagine if you don't have sannyasis, brahmacharis, everybody will just come in the room and speak something, and there's no again senior devotees. Who is reading who is getting the flame first? If you don't have this, people will just come in and out. They're offering obeisances, just like in India. People offer obeisances and they go home. There was no structure, no seriousness, and also no how do you say, vessel for the mercy to flow down. Because the senior devotee are giving mercy to the junior devotees. So if they don't get, in the junior devotees don't get mercy, the senior devotees, they cannot get actual progress. They cannot make progress. They cannot. This is a fact. So if nobody makes progress, then everybody stays Kanishta Adhikari, and this is not the purpose of Prabhupada's movement. Prabhupada did not come to have a society of Kanishta Adhikaris. Prabhupada wanted the devotees to be trained, and being trained means you know your position in the Varnashram Dharma's position, and you act accordingly, and you get the mercy accordingly. Like here, Vritrasura got mercy because he did his duty. Otherwise, nobody will know their duty, nobody will know anything, because we are all devotees. This will not work. Like you have in Jaipur. Thousands of people come in the morning to see Govindaji. This is very nice, but how many of them are really making progress, like serious progress? It's nice, they see the deities and then they go their life, and next morning they also come to see it. It's nice. But who is making actual progress? The Prabhupada wanted the devotees to go back to Godhead in this life. Something like this. Okay, anything else? Nafa. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So, let's see. Vritrasura era tan elevado y poderoso que en realidad estaba actuando como maestro espiritual de Indra. Aunque estaba al borde de la derrota, Vritrasura no se sentía afectado en lo más mínimo. Sabía que Indra iba a derrotarle y voluntariamente lo aceptó. Sin embargo, como representaba el papel de enemigo de Indra,